Hello friends, I know I just uploaded a video, but I'm about to do another one because I'm feeling inspired. I have not forgotten about my series of things I've learned about the personality types. I know I said the very first video I did that I was going to be doing them 16 days in a row. Apparently that did not happen, but you know, I'll get to that. I'll probably do one tomorrow or something like that. But I wanted to explain something that I have noticed time and time again in interactions between J and P types. Now, these things are going to be different based on if you're an extrovert or an introvert, or, you know, if you're a feeler or a thinker or anything like that. But let's just talk about J's and P's for a second. P's, they almost always care about your intent, where J's almost always care about your impact. Now, those things are going to change because we all have an extroverted judging function and we all have an introverted judging function. And so it's going to depend upon what function. So FJs and TPs both use extroverted feeling, and so to them, they're focused on the emotional impact. So whenever somebody says, oh, but I didn't mean to hurt your feelings, it would be like, well, you did, so, or like, oh, but I didn't mean to, for whatever I did to impact society. Well, you did, so FE, here it is, you still impacted it. And TJs, they also care about impact. And so here's something I'm still trying to figure out, is that it's like, even though TPs have FE, they aren't going to be as focused on the emotional impact. They're going to be more focused on their TI. And so even though they might understand and sometimes at some point talk about like, oh, well, that's the impact, it's always J's that are focused on the impact, and it's always P's that are like trying to understand the intent behind the action. One of the biggest like disagreements that I get into as an FJ with FPs when it comes to morality is they'll almost always give people a pass if they didn't mean to cause any harm. But from an FJ perspective, I'm pretty sure nobody means to cause harm. So why don't we look at the harm and talk about the harm, and then without judging the person as a person, let's just talk about it as this big sweeping statement. FJs like to talk about sociology. FJs really like sociological sort of things. They'll be like, oh, well, this person was socialized this way, or this is the mass like social cultural thing that's going on. Like, oh, capitalism is causing blah, 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 or consumerism, or liberalism, or anything like that, like any mass cultural thing. Like, FJs will kind of look at the impact of your action. FJs will be like, oh, like you threw away or you took a straw as opposed to using a metal straw, and you're throwing all these straws away. That's causing an impact. And an FP would be like, oh, well, they didn't mean to cause an impact, and also, you know, they probably just don't know about their impact, and so how dare you get on them about it. And so there's always that sort of disconnect there. And I know that these are just examples, and so in people's lives in different situations, people are going to think differently based on whether they're using their extroverted judging or their introverted judging based on that specific thing. But like, let's talk about TJs and TPs for a minute. TJs will talk about, you know, the impact of your action on systems, and TPs will sort of look at like if the logic made sense. So logic can make sense even if it's not true, and it might, the facts might cause like a harmful impact in society. So just because you think something is true, it might still cause, and so I'm not a TJ, and so I can't speak as much for the specific examples that TJs go through. but I know that there's something, that there's like a parallel that's very similar to what I see with FJs and FPs, because I tend to relate to TJs on that. It's sort of like if someone is really smart and knows a lot of stuff to TI, but to TE they aren't actually getting the job done, then that's the impact. So TE and FE are both different ways of looking at outcome and impact, and so there are all these arguments that are always going on within the typology community and also within types, whether or not people know their type. And I've noticed a lot of times where I will assert an opinion I have and people will remind me that the person's intent was good, or I might even on the opposite talk about the impact of something being kind of good, and then someone reminding me that their intent was a little bit off. And so the reason why Ps are so interested in intent is because they're looking at either FI or TI first. They're either looking at FI, is this person pure and aligned with their values? Or they're looking at TI, is this intellectually sound? Is all of this cohesive? So something can be intellectually sound and cohesive, but then when you say it, it's just still not true because you're completely missing this other truth. And TE would be like, but that's still not true. Even though you did a study and you did this and this and this, it's still ignoring the blaring truth right in your face. And so I get that your intent was fine, but the truth is that you're wrong. And FE does the same thing to FI. And I think that Ps don't really like that, because Ps don't really like being squashed by Js, where their FI or TI is very deep. And then these Js come along and is like, well, okay, you tried, like your intent was right, but the outcome's wrong, or the outcome's bad, or the outcome isn't what you intended. So Ps can get really frazzled with that because they want, obviously, their outcome to be the same as what they intended, but they definitely have way more empathy for the impact. So I guess this is a pretty short video. I don't really have to keep repeating myself. Let me know if you guys have noticed this in your interactions, or if I need to explain it further, but to me this is just very true. It's something that I've noticed, and it's something that has always held true, and it's something that is very much aligned with the personality theory. So maybe Js need to be more aware of intent, and maybe the Ps need to understand that even though you have a good intent, that the impact might not be the same. And if we can realize this about each other, then we can perhaps start talking, or stop talking over each other and start understanding each other a little bit better, because people will argue with me and kind of miss my point and sort of be like, oh, but the intent was good. That happens all the time, and to where I'm always like, yes, I see you, I'm not focused on that because I don't think that it's as important. So anyway, thank you for watching this video. Please join my Facebook group, Personality Typology for Self-Growth, that I will link below, and have a wonderful rest of your day.